Hey everyone, welcome back to another Friday night devotional. If you guys had a good week. Last week we learned about getting out of debt if you're in debt. Tonight we'll talk about making wise choices. So if you will turn with me to Proverbs 21:17, and we'll get right into it. That's Proverbs 21, verse 17. And if you'll follow along with me, that's what it says. Proverbs 21:17 says, "Whoever loves pleasure will be a poor man. He who loves wine and oil will not be rich." I'm sure you guys know we live in a society and culture that says more is better. But you rarely, or not at all, hear about reasons to live on less. It's always more and more is better. Never, less is okay or less is better too. You don't really hear that. Some people choose a simple lifestyle because they have no choice. They just can't do it. Or they can't live extravagantly because financially they are not able to do that. They simply have a limited income and have to keep their expenses to a minimum in order to keep their budget in the positive or in the green. And some do it because if they don't do it, they might literally not have food for that day or that week. Now, some are also living a simple lifestyle because, as we learned about debt, remember we talked about that, they're trying to get out of debt, right? If you're living a extravagant lifestyle and you're buying expensive things, or you're constantly going out and eating expensive food, you can't get out of debt if you're spending more money than what you have. And you can't get out of debt if you're not paying it off and buying other things, right? It just makes sense. Now, some choose a lifestyle of spending less, even though they have the money to live a life of spending more, even though they can do it. Now, why some do that? Well, some do it to save for future needs, such as a college tuition for their future kids, or if they have kids, to save for that, or even for their own retirement, for example. Now, many Christians choose to downsize their lifestyles so that they can give to the Lord's work and help others. Now, these lifestyle choices first has to come from the heart. It should be an overflow of the state of the heart. In today's passage, warns that those who love luxury will not enjoy financial success. But those who love God above all else will learn to be content. They will find their greatest joy and satisfaction in God instead of trying to find and search it in the earthly things or the worldly things. I will read one more passage today. If you turn to Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, that's Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, and it says this: "No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money." That's Matthew 6:24. Now, those who serve money find that money is a horrible master that gives no true and deep satisfaction. But those who serve God, those who serve and love God, find true joy in this life as they lay up treasures, not here on this earth, but in heaven. And for you guys, as you will one day face your finances, as one day you will be either the one solely responsible for your finances, or you're doing it with your husband or your wife when you're married, you will need to choose a wise lifestyle or way of living. And will you be caught up with money and worldly stuff? Or will you be able to live a life of simplicity? For example, Jesus lived a very simple lifestyle, and he owned almost nothing of his own. And some Christians choose to follow Jesus' example by living on very little. Now, there are believers who live in developing or poor countries around the world where even owning a TV is considered rich or living in luxury. Just having a TV or maybe having a smartphone. And people and believers in other of these poor and developing countries may look at our lifestyle of owning a home, multiple cars, so many different technology and material things. They would see us as very wealthy and over the top, really, lifestyle. So then what should we do then? Should we feel guilty for buying a cup of coffee on the way to school, or buying new clothes, or living in a big home? Should we just completely downsize everything in our lives so that we can use that money to give to the Lord's work? Now, it would be much easier, it would be very easy if the Bible told us exactly what to do about this. But the Bible doesn't. But that doesn't mean that we should just be like, oh, okay, the Bible doesn't say it, then I'll just continue living however I want to, or especially with my finances. No, we must pray. We must seek wise counsel and then take God's word and apply it to our specific situations. We live in tension. We're being pulled back and forth. Kind of like being in the middle, being pulled back and forth. We are free to thankfully enjoy God's blessings. But we also need to make responsible and sometimes hard lifestyle choices that help us fight against our money issues. Now, some thoughts to consider based on tonight's devotional. A couple things. If you had to downsize, let's say that you have a home, you have a car, or whatever, and you're living a certain lifestyle. If you had to downsize, what do you think you should try to change in your lifestyle? Maybe it could be something right now, or maybe a situation that you see yourself maybe in the future. What are some things that you should not buy anymore to help with this? Again, whether that's right now or you see yourself later in the future. And second, in light of all of this, try to create a habit of consistently giving thanks to God. Not only for your food, like how we always say a quick prayer before we eat, give thanks to God for our food, but for every material blessing that you enjoy. Give thanks to God and have a consistently thankful heart to Him. All right, guys, that's it for tonight's Friday night devotional. Hope it was helpful. Hopefully you learned something. Again, if you have any questions from it, feel free to reach out to me. Love to have a discussion with you about it. But until next week's Friday night devotional, please be safe, be wise, continue to be in God's word, and continue to pray. All right, guys, peace.